How's it going? In this training, we're going to talk about fire safety. Specifically, we're going to talk about fire extinguishers and how to use them. We might even do a live demo on this video. So we're going to talk about a few topics. One is incipient level fires and what that is. Two, we're going to talk about what it takes to create a fire and sustain a fire, because we're going to need to know that in order to put a fire out. We're going to talk about the different types of fire extinguishers. We're going to talk about the pass method, an easy way to remember how to use a fire extinguisher properly. And lastly, we're going to talk about at-home fire safety. So hang on and let's check this video out. All right, so what is an incipient level fire? Well, let's take a look and see. So that's an incipient level fire. It's a fire at the very beginning stages. It hasn't spread all around the room yet. You can put it out with a fire extinguisher. Once it gets too big, there's no use in trying to use a fire extinguisher on it. It's time to escape and get out. So there's a couple characteristics of an incipient level fire. One, it has not affected the area around where the fire is yet. So it hasn't really spread yet. It's just starting. Two, people can still breathe. The smoke hasn't filled the area yet. Three, people can still easily escape out if they need to. And four, the heat level is relatively low. So at that point, you can make the decision to use a fire extinguisher or just escape. But if it gets bigger than incipient level fire, it's time to escape no matter what. So let's look at the fire triangle. That's the elements it takes to create and sustain a fire. So let's check that out. So you need three main elements. One is heat. Two, you need a fuel source to burn. Three, you're going to need oxygen. If you remove any of those portions or any of those elements, you're going to put the fire out. And that's what fire extinguishers do. They remove one of those three elements in order for the fire to go out and not be able to sustain itself. So it's very important to understand how a fire starts, how a fire sustains itself, so you can know how to eliminate it. Let's talk about the different types of fire extinguishers, because you need different types of fire extinguishers for different types of fire, and that's very important. So a type A fire extinguisher is good for freely burning combustibles. So we're talking about paper or wood. You know, that's our first instinct when we think about fire. We think about wood burning or paper burning. That's a type A. Class B fire extinguisher is going to put out flammable liquids and gas. A Class C fire is an electrical fire. Now that's one that's started by an electrical current. And once you turn that power off, it's no longer a Class C fire. A Class D fire is a metallic fire. So that's like metals that can combust and cause fires. Those are very rare, but you need to know what it is when you see it. And a Class K fire is easy because K is for kitchen, and that's a kitchen fire. So you're talking about oil, grease, vegetable oil, fat, any of those things that can happen in your kitchen. That's a Class K fire. You need a specific fire extinguisher to put those out. It's important that if you do have a kitchen fire, a grease fire, oil fire, that you're not putting water on that. That's just going to spread it and intensify those flames. So make sure you recognize that and you use the proper fire extinguisher, or you can smother with something, but don't use water. Now that we talked about the different types of fire extinguishers, we need to know how to use a fire extinguisher. Now, we're going to go do a live version of this, but first we need to know what we're going to do. And a simple, easy way to remember it is the PASS technique. P-A-S-S. That's pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. So you're pulling the pin, you're aiming the nozzle or the fire extinguisher toward the base of the fire, you're squeezing the handle, and then you're going to sweep back and forth until that fire's completely out. This is very important. A lot of us have kids, animals, and people we care about in our houses, but an overwhelming majority of us have never even planned out what to do in case of a fire. We just kind of assume, one, that we're not going to have a fire, and two, if we have one, everyone's just going to get out safely. But a lot of times, unfortunately, that's not what happens. A fire happens most of the time at night when people are sleeping. And when you wake up, smoke could already be overwhelming people. The fire could already be blocking out exits. You need to have a plan for you and your family. So it's vitally important that not only do you plan it out, but then you act it out with your family. So when you get home, gather your family up. Even get a drawing of your house. If you have kids, you can include them in on drawing out your house, and then look for the quickest escape routes from every single bedroom to get out of the house. Draw that out, include the kids, include your wife, include your husband, include everybody in the whole family on how to escape out of the house. So draw it out first, talk about it, talk about what you're going to do, and then do an actual fire drill. Have you ever done a fire drill with your family? If you haven't, or if you have, it's still a good idea to do it, because you can't do it too much. You want to run these fire drills over and over so they stay in your mind. When everything goes wrong, you're going to have that plan and you're going to stick to it. So get your kids, put them in the bedroom, go to your bedroom, and then have someone who can set off the actual smoke detector in your house. First, make sure it's not hooked up to automatically call 911, because you just want to test it. Test it, let that beep go off, and then do your escape drill. You can even do an escape route where people are crawling on the ground just in case smoke was up. You can do it at night so that vision is lower, and turn off the lights in the house and see if people can get out. You can have fun with it, but let the kids know how serious it truly is. And then once you get out of the house, everyone needs to have a meeting point. Where are you going to meet? By the mailbox? At the neighbor's house? Find out where you're going to meet and who is going to call 911. Here's a couple bonus tips for at-home fire safety. How many of you sleep with your bedroom door shut? Now think about this. Do you think it's safer to sleep with your door shut or open with a fire? The answer is closed. Having that bedroom door shut greatly slows down the fire and the smoke damage and smoke inhalation that you could potentially get. Check out this video on sleeping with your door shut. They call it close when you doze.
We're here at the Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center in Pennsylvania, where we're repurposing one of our test fixtures to do a demonstration for Fire Prevention Week on the importance of closing your door. This year's theme, Close Before You Doze, will let us highlight the importance of putting that important barrier between you and the potential fire before you go to sleep at night. We're going to have an experiment where we're going to light the fire in the living room, cutting off your main source of egress. We're going to see how long it takes those smoke alarms to go off to give you that early warning, and look at what important role that the closed door plays in providing you time to be woken, understand what's happening around you, decide whether or not you can get out safely or not, and ultimately, if you can't, the important protection that it provides you to buy you time so the fire department can come and rescue you. In this 3-bedroom house, what's important to us is how long the occupants would have to survive. In order to determine that, we've got temperature measurements at every foot in every room in the house. We've got oxygen, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide measurements in the bedrooms as well as the hallway to understand what the potential occupants would be exposed to, along with our regular measurements of pressure, video, thermal imaging throughout the house so we can quantify the fire behavior. We're going to start the fire by lighting a sofa with the candle in the living room. That fire is going to begin to spread across the sofa, filling the house with smoke and heat. That smoke is going to begin to bank down. What we're looking at is the obvious difference in conditions between the open bedroom and the closed bedrooms and what that means for occupant survival time. We're going to allow that fire to progress, and we're going to be watching the front windows to the living room. The question to us is going to be, are those front living room windows going to fail or not? That fire is going to become ventilation limited, the windows are going to go out, we're going to have fire out of the front of the house, and we're going to continue to look at how that deteriorates conditions inside the house. Once we have that fire out the windows and things are not survivable in the open bedroom, we're going to have our suppression crew go ahead and move in, put the fire out.
Another tip, if you have a 2-storied house, and let's say there's a fire blocking the stairway, how are you going to get out? Yeah, it's easy to say I'll jump out the window, but once you're looking down 15, 20 feet, that can be very damaging to your body jumping out there. And sometimes you may not even be able to get one of your kids to jump out that window. So there's some relatively cheap foldable ladders you can get and shove underneath your bed. Look them up on Amazon. Here's one right here. It just hooks onto your windowsill and then unfolds. That way you have an escape route. You can spend 50 to 100 bucks. Hopefully you never have to use it. All right, so now we're gonna go out and we're gonna do some live testing on a fire extinguisher. Let's check it out, come on. All right, now we're gonna get to do the live demonstration. Now, I pulled this fire extinguisher right off the wall inside the warehouse. So that's an important part of fire safety, is knowing where your extinguishers are before there's an emergency. So I located this one, and now let's check it out. This is an ABC fire extinguisher. Do you remember what that is? The Class A is for wood and paper combustibles only. The Class B is for flammable liquids. The Class C is electrical fires. So an ABC extinguisher is good for all 3 of those. So now let's try the pass method and see if it works. So the pass method is to pull. I'm gonna pull this pin pretty good. Pull, aim the nozzle, and then I'm gonna squeeze and sweep. Now, when you spray this, it's gonna let a cloud of dusty chemical out. Be careful of breathing that. It can be irritating to your lungs. So let's try it out. I pulled, aim, squeeze, and sweep. And you want to do that until the fire is completely out. We're going to try out the water extinguisher. Now remember, this is good for Class A fires. That's wood and paper only. Same thing, we're going to give it a yank. We're going to pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze, and sweep. Remember the pass method? And we're going to aim at the base of the fire, and we're going to keep going until that fire's out, and then we're going to wet it down a little bit more. So remember, water extinguishers are great for hot work and fire watch, but they're only good for paper and wood combustibles. That's a water extinguisher. And always make sure that you're charged up when you get one. That's it for our fire safety video. Remember, locate your fire extinguisher. Make sure it's in the green charge area. That way it's able to be used when you need it. And then remember the pass method. Pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep. And you're going to be safer. Use this at home. Use this at work. Teach your family. See y'all next time.